Hello, everybody. It is Friday, March 5th. It's a wonderful day. It's the Four Guys Roundtable Show. With me, one of your cohorts, Joe, a.k.a. Theo, Darth Pat, AJ Nitro, Coach Jeremy is all with us as usual.
Did you say cohort or cohort?
Cohorts.
That didn't take long.
I may be a whore, but I am just...
Well, definition of whore could be a definition of a whore. Cohorts, we could all define that in our own special way.
Now listen, I don't got warts, okay? That's his whole,
No warts. Horts.
My dad wears hearing aids, and there have been many times.
Can he hear us?
There have been
That's
many
bad.
times. There have been many times recently when I've been talking to him, and I swear to God, he does not hear what I say. And
He's just ignoring you.
And I ask him, "Are your ears in?" Yeah, meaning, are your hearing aids in? And sometimes he'll give me the whole like, "Oh, one of them's out," or "Oh, the batteries are down," or blah blah blah. So, Jeremy, please don't turn into him with like not hearing things.
Mine's not. I'm doing mine for fun. I really can hear very well, actually. Mine is for comedic relief. But I can tell you, in talking on the phones with some of the older people that I used to talk with, which I am thankfully don't have to talk to anymore.
I'm sure that was
Thank
fun.
goodness. That you would literally say something, they'd go, "Excuse me, what did you say?" And then you'd have to put your hand over like, "I said no," because all they hear is like freaking like Charlie Brown on a Peanuts movie.
I would find myself doing that too. I hated that. It's like, God.
It's like, oh my God, please put somebody else on the phone that can hear English.
Well,
A little bit.
You actually remind the way you just were kind of doing that. You reminded me of an old Homestar Runner cartoon where they encountered this like random like drive-through speaker in the middle of nowhere. Oh, no, put it this way: it's just about how you can't understand what like sometimes the people are saying like through the drive-through speaker, where like the drive-through speaker is starting to say things like "sever your leg, please," and they're like, "Did you just tell me to sever my leg?" It's like, "Sever your leg, please, sir. It's the greatest day."
Is that a comic strip cartoon you're talking about? Because that's not ringing a bell right here.
Really? You never heard of Homestar Runner before?
No, sir.
None of us have.
I have. I just can't.
It was a web cartoon that was made predominantly with Flash. That was biggest in like the in the 2000s, but the guys who created it kind of moved on to other things, and they don't update it much anymore. One of my younger sister's old boyfriends introduced us to it many years ago.
Gotcha.
So speaking of the drive-through speakers, I heard recently that McDonald's is going to start running a test with an AI system that takes your order at the drive-through. That's going to be fun.
Well, it might be better than what they do now.
Well, what do you mean by an AI system?
Like an Alexa type system taking your order at the drive-through. Oh, yes.
Do you know what? Do you know what makes me want to do? That makes me want to do all my voices and just fuck with that system and see if I can get it to break.
It's going to be
or see if
very
it orders
interesting.
the right shit for me. That's what I want to do.
I mean, I think we've been headed that way with like automation and shit, and yeah, that's going to be great. I actually went to the McDonald's closest to my office twice this week, which I'm not going to be doing anymore. There are too many. The one day I went because I was coming back from a doctor's appointment, so I couldn't take two with mustard only. That's like my standard McDonald's order. I got 2 double cheeseburgers, no ketchup and mustard.
That's the way I like it.
But no, it still had the pickles and the onion on it. Basically what I don't want on the burger. Okay. All right. So
they were like, listen here, bitch, this is not Burger King. You don't get it your way. You get it our way.
Well, no, the problem was like it still had like the tickets attached to the wrappers that said only ketchup, only mustard, but they just did it backwards. Now, Wednesday I went again, same order, and I was a little rushed, so I didn't look in the bag before I pulled away from the window. When I grabbed the bag, it felt right.
That's what she said.
Instead of 2 double cheeseburgers, I got 2 McDoubles, which the difference is there's only 1 slice of cheese on a McDouble instead of 2.
Oh, God forbid. You got to have that slice of cheese.
That's important. I'm glad that I didn't know that, Pat. I'll file that away.
Ain't that about a bitch?
Yeah. And it also had ketchup, mustard, pickles, and onions on it, so they didn't even get the ketchup and mustard only part right. But there was also 2 filet-o-fishes.
Hey,
that's Pat's favorite sandwich. 2 for $6.
And I'm like, well, this is great.
The only fish he's ever had.
They gave me the complete wrong order. So I'm like, whoever got my order, I hope noticed it before they pulled away, because by the time I noticed it, I was back in my office. So I wasn't driving 10 minutes back to say, hey, you fucked up my order.
Yeah. No, it's interesting because I was at Sheets, or sometimes I like to call it Shits. And I had my son with me, so I didn't want to have to get out the car because I knew it was going to be 2 seconds in and 2 seconds out to get it. But with my son in the car, I have to unbuckle him, get him out of the car, walk in, do the 2 seconds to grab my bag, walk back out, buckle him up. It's just a pain in the ass, and it's inconvenient. So I did the curbside pickup. So you check in when you get there so they can bring your food out to you. You thank them. Maybe you give them a tip if you're really nice and they were really nice to you. These fucking dumbasses put my bag on the in-store pickup spot. So I sat there for 10 to 15 minutes waiting for them to bring out my food, to only realize that these dumbasses were not bringing out my food. And I had to do exactly what I didn't want to do. And like I said, it's not that I can't, it's just a fucking inconvenience. And when you have curbside pickup, which is a convenience, I expect you to bring my food out like I intended you to. Okay.
So for Valentine's Day, Texas Roadhouse was doing like a thing. I don't like to go there, but I wanted prime rib, and they were doing something where you could get 2 entrees, and it was like $40. So I'm like, we're going to do it for this because I want prime rib. So I ordered it early in the morning. Like, the place don't even open till 4. I ordered it like 10 o'clock in the morning. They sent me a text. I was at work, and it said, when you get here, text us saying you're here. So when I was like pulling into the parking lot, they sent me a text saying your food's ready. So I said, sweet. So then I pulled into a spot and I texted here, and I sat there and I continued to sit there. And like 10 minutes later, they still didn't bring my food out, but they had this like pickup window that you had to walk up to. So apparently I had to get in that line to pick up my food. Why would you send me a text saying just say you're here and we'll bring it out to you? Then I had to figure out on my own that I had to walk up to this fucking walk-up window and get my food. So
that sucks.
That place is like so unorganized and disorganized every time I go there.
So this leads me into one thought, and I don't want to elaborate on this, but I just want to put this out there, and I would just like to get your guys' yes or no, if you agree or not. These are the positions that people want to be paid $15 an hour to do. Like, let's raise minimum wage to $15 an hour. Like, that's this big thing. And I'm not saying that minimum wage should be what it is. I'm not saying it shouldn't have been gradually increased and should be better than what it is. But what I'm saying is, you're expecting a high school kid, or maybe in early 20s that, hasn't figured out what they want to do yet, that can't even get an order correct, or do this basic simple shit.
Bring it out to your car.
But yet you want to give them $15 an hour, which some people who are skilled and do skilled labor don't even make an hour. That just seems absurd to me. Not saying that minimum, once again, not saying that minimum wage should not be higher than what it is, but I think we're going a little on the cuckoo for Cocoa Puff side, as Theo likes to say, by giving people $15 an hour to do an unskilled labor job.
I think, like, I get what you're saying. I think the biggest thing, though, for fast food places like this or restaurants to do this type of thing is who's training them, who's training those people who are training them, who's implementing the systems. Because if you say text us, we'll come out, and you got to go in a fucking line, or they put your shit in the wrong stuff, it's just a lack of, you either not having enough people to be working there, not having the proper system in place to even make this functional. And when you don't have even those two items, then everything just goes to shit. It just goes to shit. I mean, I was talking to AJ the other day. He had called me, and me and my son were going through Wendy's because they wanted fucking Wendy's. So they didn't. And I like Wendy's chili, and I like their chicken sandwiches, right? So I got a chicken sandwich, fine. But then he gave me my fucking chili. I wanted my chili. God damn it. So I had to pull over, go inside,
Yes.
get my chili. I'd be like, hey bros, I've got my chili. Do that. The other day I went to McDonald's in the morning, and I got the breakfast burrito meal, and I wanted an extra breakfast burrito. So I get my bag. As I'm about to pull away, I stop. There's no one behind me. I look in the bag, didn't have it. So I back up. She's like, what's wrong? I was like, I ordered an extra breakfast burrito. She comes back and gives me like a sausage McMuffin. I was like, fuck it, I'm taking it. I'm like, I don't give a shit. I'm like, I'm just taking it. I was like, I'm done. I was like, I'll eat it. I don't give a shit. So I left. But it's funny because you mentioned going to there for Valentine's Day. We went to, we did something too, this place we want to try, and their system was flawless. They're like, when you get here, it was like detailed. When you get here, there's signs. You text message this number and let us know that you're here,
And
your
which
first
spot
and
you're in.
last name, and the type of car you're driving. Sweet. There was like, I forget, my food would have been done at like 4:00. So I left. I drove over there. It was like 4:02. I got there. I pulled in the spot. They had my cell phone number. I text them here, my name, and the car I was driving comes out. Hello, are you such and such? You're like, yeah. Oh, here you go. Food. Boom, boom. Sign the thing. Tip. Boom. Here you go. Bye. Peace.
Most of my experiences with these places have been good. The Roadhouse one was bad. Like I've done Red Lobster, I've done Olive Garden a bunch of times, and I've done even Longhorn, and they've been fine. It was just Roadhouse it was a hot mess. And me and Zach, we even went to pick up food one time when it was super COVID, and we're like, what is going on here? Thank God we're not going into this place, because that parking lot was full and there were people everywhere on top of each other. And I'm like, wow, they're really following the rules here.
I mean, overall, though, does minimum wage need to go up? Absolutely. But I have to just think anymore. There's so many places that don't have proper systems, don't have their employees trained, don't have enough employees to handle the workload that's coming in. Plus, I just think they do things to just rush, just want to rush and get it out, and that's where shit just get fucked up, more and more during the course of the time.
But raising the minimum wage does not change that, and that's the thing. So, why
it could be $2 an hour or $20 an hour? You're still gonna So overall, you're still gonna get the same output.
So the whole and I will just leave it at that. We don't need to talk about that anymore, because I don't want to get into a political debate with anybody on this show, or have people get mad that we're talking about this.
I vote purple.
So, but we would love. So this, I want everybody to comment on this. So if you're listening to this, when you have a chance to listen to this, and you're like, okay, we want to know about your bad experiences. Leave a comment on your bad experiences with the current situations that are going on with curbside pickup and everything like that. Leave a comment about your bad experience. We'd like to know if you've had some of these things happen to you that have happened to us, because that's always fun.
I don't know how much of it I'm going to watch on Sunday, but like this is NBA All-Star weekend, and they're doing it a little bit differently this year because they're doing the 3-point contest and everything before the All-Star game, and then they're doing the dunk contest at halftime of the All-Star game. So they're not doing it Saturday night and Sunday night. They're basically doing everything on Sunday this year. So
I'm going to watch it because Zach LaVine is in it. He's in the 3-point contest, and he's actually in the All-Star game. So I have a little more vested interest this year than normal years. So
the All-Star game last year, I believe they're doing the same format this year, where at the end of the third quarter, whichever team is winning is going to be up by 20 points. And the fourth, it was entertaining last year because everybody started playing defense. I believe they're doing the same thing again this year. So this is the first time Steph Curry and LeBron James have ever played on a team together. This will be the first time that has ever happened this weekend. So
yes.
I say LeBron doesn't pass the ball to Steph Curry at all. I say he doesn't pass it to him. He's like, fuck you. Just fuck you. I ain't giving you the ball.
Either. He could be a dick.
So if the every year the All-Star game is always the night of a pay-per-view. It happens every year. And this is the first time in a long time there's not a WWF pay-per-view, but now there's an AEW pay-per-view, which are always on Saturdays. All of a sudden this one's on a Sunday.
Because there's no WWE one probably
to
compete against.
It's weird that they're doing it on a Sunday. I was like, oh wow, this really is on a Sunday.
Yeah, it's a little bit odd.
I think it's about that time to bring forth the rhyme. No, I'm just kidding. To start this thing that we call a podcast.
No,
Joe,
it's not. No, it's not.
Yeah, shut up. Joe.
No. I'm putting in my 2 cents real quick.
Oh, okay.
Number one, bad curbside experience. Mother's Day last year, tried to go to Outback. The problem is that they had barely been reopened after like the pandemic shutdown and everything. And I think when a few people heard that they were open, literally everybody tried to do a curbside order from the place, and I was seriously
they have enough food.
I was seriously sitting there 2 hours waiting for my order before.
Holy smokes!
Well, the only reason
Can I have my tip back, please? At that point that I left on the card, can I have it back?
Well, I was never charged anything because I never got the order, and I called and basically said, if you're still working on my order at this point, cancel it. The only reason I stuck around that long is because Money in the Bank was going on. I was watching it on my phone. And I basically even said, if this thing ends and I still haven't got my order, then that's it. Also, about minimum wage laws, minimum wage definitely needs to be higher. All I'm going to say is this. The one senator was talking about how apparently for some reason minimum wage shouldn't be raised because he worked as a cook at a restaurant back in the 70s when he was in high school, and he got by
70s, please.
He got by on $6 an hour and was able to save for college.
Minimum wage wasn't $6 an hour back in the 70s.
Oh, wasn't.
But not just that. $6 in 1979 is $21.62 now.
Inflation.
I could tell you what the minimum wage was in 1979 because I looked this up. I wanted to compare it to what senators were making back then and what they make now and what minimum wage is. And once again, we're not going to get into politics, so I'm not going to go over that. But it is fucking ridiculous that the inflation that they've received and the inflation on minimum wage is uncomparable.
Right. But again, what I'm saying is like he's talking about he was able to get by on $6 an hour in 1979 when he was a high school senior. That's great. So that means that
milk costs 50 cents.
Right. So the counter to that then is that if you're saying you were able to get by on $6 an hour now, that like people should be able to get by on $7.25 or $7.50 or even like $10 or $11. No, they can't. It's just impossible. That's all there is to it.
Yes.
So.
All right. So, Theo, what the hell are we talking about this week?
We are talking about some wham, bam, thank you, man, action movies.
Ooh, action movies. I love a good action movie. A little
sexual and
I mean, wham, bam, thank you, ma'am could have been porn movies too, but
no, I was a little concerned where you were going there. I was like, bam, bam.
I took you down a false path, but I brought you back.
People never listen to David Bowie.
I know.
Not very much, but okay.
No.
But we are talking action movies.
Nice.
blow them up, shoot them up. Whatever. Cut your limbs off. I don't care.
I like the fact of cutting off your limbs. That sounds pretty cool.
The more craziness, the more I like.
I mean, I wouldn't attribute cutting limbs off to action movies per se. That would seem more horror movies to me, but okay.
Samurai, Japanese movies.
Well, samurai films I consider its own genre. So,
oh well, okay, I can understand that. So I want to start, since we are talking action movies, I want to start us off with the top 15 that I found on Men's Health. Okay, so this is going to be interesting.
Men's Health.
So it's the top 15 grossing action movies of all time, or what?
This is just top 15 action movies of all time.
As of when?
This is going back pretty far to like the 70s and stuff like that. So
No. I mean, did this happen in the last year, or?
When did they do this? September 1st of 2020 is when this was done.
That's pretty new. So that's good.
Yeah. So Men's Health always has some crazy.
So I have to actually work backwards because they started it with number 1. So I got to go to number 15 and go forward.
Well, I mean, technically it's completely up to date because how many new movies?
Yeah, right. Exactly. Yeah. So that's why.
All right. So with number 15, and I just thought this would be a good way to start us off because then we can just go fucking anywhere from there. So number 15, Terminator 2, Judgment Day.
Fine with that.
I'm actually, maybe depending upon where the list goes, I was actually thinking that maybe that would be rated higher.
Yeah. Number 14, Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon.
Ooh, that's 14. That should be higher.
That was a really good one.
Kind of surprised that's on the list. I've never been as big of a fan as other people are of that movie.
I really liked it.
That's kind of some of my
number 13. This one surprised me. Mad Max Fury Road. This is the newer one, the 2015 Mad Max.
Yeah, everybody seems to love that film. I don't get it. I've never gone it with that.
I like it, but I don't think it's great. But I like it.
Yeah. Number 12, Aliens, the original Aliens from 1986.
Well, not the original, but.
Okay, the one that most people know.
Well, no, I'm saying like it was the sequel to Alien.
Oh,
yes.
Okay.
Yeah. I know what you mean by what you're saying the original though. You mean like not you're basically saying
the original series,
not the Alien versus Predator.
Yeah,
movies.
like we weren't into the Aliens 2, 3, and whatever the hell number they got up to. Yeah. Number 11, The Killer.
The John Woo.
Yeah, the John Woo movie.
Shout out that one. Yeah, I have seen that one. That one is pretty good.
Number 10, House of Flying Daggers.
Okay.
Which I've seen, but not entirely.
I don't think I've actually seen House of Flying Daggers.
Number 9, Ip Man.
Okay.
That was really good. That's a really good movie.
Yeah, I've seen that. I've seen that and the first 2 sequels. I know they did a 4th one now, which I haven't seen yet.
Yeah, that one was really good too. I don't know. They were all good. I really like the guy that plays Ip Man too, Danny. What's his name? Donnie Yen. Donnie Yen,
who for people who haven't seen the Ip Man movies was in Rogue One. He was the
blind guy.
The blind guy who, of course, kept saying, I am with the Force is with me.
That shit was funny. Number 8, Enter the Dragon, which I think should be higher.
Bruce Lee, classic.
Yeah.
Terrific movie.
Number 7, John Wick.
Yeah, baby.
I've still never seen any of the John Wick movies.
Even my dad's like, you've got to watch John Wick.
I mean, I've actually seen those. So
you need to see all 3 in a row because they just all continue.
Yeah, I'll probably get to them at some point, but yeah, I think it is one of the things where I think I have just said like I'll just like watch them all like back to back to back.
That is a Vince McMahon. It's such good shit.
It's such
that was a bad impersonation by me, but I tried.
Let's see, number 6, Mission Impossible: Rogue Nation.
Okay.
Wait.
Rogue Nation, I think, is the one with Oh, now I have a brain fart who the bad guy is.
I'm trying to think was that the 5th one or the 6th one?
That's Cavell.
I have no idea.
Cavell
When
ends
does
up
it say-
being flipping.
Yeah, when does it say that one was made?
2015.
That sounds like the fifth one then.
Yeah, that's oh god.
Not the one with Henry Cavill.
Okay.
That was the sixth one.
Yeah, no, the one before. Yeah, it's that's. God damn it.
I actually think the best one is the one where Philip Seymour Hoffman's the villain. That's my favorite Mission Impossible.
Yeah, that's the last
movie.
one I think I saw too.
I think
Seymour Hoffman's fantastic in that movie, so that's my favorite Mission Impossible.
Is it Rogue Nation the one where he meets that? There's that whole thing at the end with that him and that female. You seem like they're gonna. No, it's James Bond. Never mind. Keep going.
Keep going, Jeremy.
All right, number 5, The Bourne Ultimatum.
which was the last of the Bourne trilogy.
Yep. Number 4, Kill Bill Volume 1.
Okay.
This is where this.
I don't mind that being in the top 15, but I think that
I think it's a little high.
yes, that's a little high for me. It's a little high.
It's that high on that list for one part of the movie, and Kill Bill 2 is also a better film than Kill Bill 1.
Yes, I agree with you on that.
And this is where this list starts to get a little hairy for me as I went through it. Number 3, Ong Bak.
I've seen that.
So I thought it was really good.
I know of it. I haven't seen it.
Number 2, The Raid 2 Redemption.
Same thing. I know of it. I haven't seen it.
And does anybody want to take a guess at what number 1 is?
Don't tell me it's The Raid 1.
No. Just think, what movie could it possibly be number 1?
But shit, the way that list was going, I would think it would be another fucking martial arts movie.
Yeah.
And you would be wrong. Theo, do you want to take a crack at it? It's somebody that I haven't mentioned yet as far as an action star.
Is it something with Stallone?
Rock or Rambo?
Was it Rambo?
Mhm. Yep. First Blood.
See, here's the thing. I
have a big problem with that list for a couple of reasons. One is that
there's too many.
When I think, and see again, it's a nebulous definition as to action movie, but you got a couple of movies on there which to me are more sci-fi, like Terminator 2 and Aliens. Though I can definitely see where you could also call those action movies, but like half that list is martial arts movies.
Yes.
And again, it's not that I don't consider martial arts movies action movies, but I think that they're enough of their own subgenre that I would not easily be able to put them in a ranking with what I consider to be like an action movie. And then First Blood to me is not an action movie. First Blood to me is a thriller. It's a suspense movie. It's a psychological movie more so than it's an action movie. But
yeah,
I mean Rambo 2. That's where we're getting some
action. Rambo 2 is an action.
Yeah. First Blood's just more of a. It's more of like a deep story about his character. It's not really. There's action in it, but it's not like.
Yeah, it's not like the shoot 'em up, bang bang, and
so the hard pounding shit.
Yeah,
see, I don't mind.
It's a movie that most people miss the point of.
I don't mind all the martial art movies because I'm into that, but I get what you're saying where it could be separated. I think there may be like 3, 4 where I would put in like my top 15 or 20 list if I had to sit down and like do this. But yeah, I mean, its action is kind of very broad with
the Bruce Lee one for sure. I think Enter the Dragon fits more than some of the other ones do. So
yeah, because why Bruce Lee's a martial arts movie, there is actually, it's more, if you think about it this way, Enter the Dragon is almost like a James Bond type film because he's a spy in that movie. He's doing, he's sneaking around and then he's fighting guys. But it's centered around a martial arts tournament. So a lot of people throw it in the martial arts genre just because Bruce Lee's in it and he kicks and punches and stuff like that. But watch a James Bond movie once or twice. There's kicks and punches in that too. And they're very similar in that aspect. So, it's not, when you look at Enter the Dragon, I don't think it's a true, like full on martial arts movie, not like The Boss or, what the heck is the other one that I can't remember all of a sudden? Fist of Fury. Those are more like martial arts movies than Enter the Dragon was. So, and this is why we had such a hard time when we were talking about this, like we should do action movies. And we're like, oh my God, should we break it down to like just a certain star, like an action star? Where should we go? Because it is such a broad topic to talk about. So, it's one of those things where, there's so many different movies to pick from. Do you go true action where it's only guns and explosions or, and hand-to-hand combat, or do you go martial arts style movies to include those? But so it's going to be interesting where we go with this.
There's different avenues you can go down when you start talking about this.
But I will definitely say two of my favorite type of action movies are definitely like war action movies and martial arts action movies. Those are definitely two of my favorite type of action movies out there.
Yeah, same.
Yeah, for me, when I think of an action movie, to me, I'm thinking of something that, above all else, is completely, totally, and 100% preposterous, and has absolutely no chance of, something that could ever happen in real life.
Well, I like the Fast and the Furious. That's what I was just about to say. Furious,
I mean, I have never watched a Fast and the Furious movie. I really trying to keep it that way. But that is what I'm thinking of. I mean, like, for me, I seem to remember like there seemed to be this big heyday of action movies back in like the 90s where you had stuff like Under Siege and Demolition Man and
Speed's a good example. The bus fucking jumps a fucking bridge. So
you had Speed, and you had True Lies and Con Air and Face Off and The Rock and Eraser. Mission, and like the first two Mission Impossibles were around those years, and other films of that sort. So like those are the ones that I kind of think of with action. I just think of, again, like preposterous plot. Generally like, one guy up against like, usually a series, like not just one bad guy, but a series of bad guys. Explosions, got to be lots of explosions, of course. Usually, preferably with guys walking away from explosions in slow-mo, which of course, is if you saw the other guys, of course, is a lie that you can't just walk away from an explosion like that because the force of the explosion will knock you over and everything. But yeah, to me, like when I think of action movies, I think of like movies like that more so than, some of the ones that were on that list. But again, it's a nebulous definition.
I'm more with Pat on that one. So I'm more inclined to.
Yeah.
The Fast and the Furious and the Mission Impossible movies now, when I go see them, I'm like, oh, what are we going to do now that is so unrealistic? How can we top the last movie? What can we do this time? So that's why Fast and the Furious is going to be in space. We're heading towards that. So cars are going to be flying around in space probably.
No, they'll be driving on a track that they made out of wood into space.
Like, what's Tom Cruise going to do in the next Mission Impossible to top, actually dangling off of a goddamn, airplane and everything, like the way he did in the last one. I think that was in the last one. So it's like, how the hell do you top that?
I mean, the Fast and the Furious went from, in 5, they were pulling vaults down the street. In 6, they were pulling an airplane out of the sky. In 7, we had cars jumping from one skyscraper to another. Mm-hmm. And I also believe in 8, we had cars parachuting down into a small area. We also had a submarine chasing them on the ice in number 8. So I don't know what they're going to do in number 9. I mean, they have John Cena, so they can probably have a car with a flat tire that imaginarily, if the tire gets filled up again, they can definitely do that.
No, what they're going to do is it's John Cena. So what they're going to do is they're going to have him pick up the car and put it on his shoulder and run really fast with it instead of drive it.
He'll have his purple cow with him.
Like Piplup picking up the stairs and throwing him in the ring, he's going to pick up the car and chuck it at somebody.
Well, because he's entering the franchise at this point where they've done all those things, like you just said, like, oh, they went from this to this to this. Well, he's been talking to Kofi Kingston. I've been hearing because it's a little like Kofi Kingston's Royal Rumble, elimination avoidances. It's like, well, we started here, then we went to here, then we did this, and we did this. So it's just that he's basically he's seeking Kofi's advice on well, where do you go from here? And
oh, I know what it is. This is what they're gonna do. They're gonna have Vin Diesel drive at John Cena full blare at like 140 miles an hour, and he's gonna stop the car with his hands.
It's some super bad shit. Oh,
or
man.
dive through the window as it's coming at him, and he lives through it.
See, for me, a Mission Impossible 2, that one started early because he fucking kicks the gun up like out of the sand into his hand. I'm like, really?
And
yeah,
shoots
okay.
it.
Yeah.
And shoots it because there's no sand stuck in the action.
It started early in Mission Impossible for me. Like, that was number 2. With Fast and the Furious, it was about the 4th one where I'm like, all right, we're starting to go down the path of no return.
Yeah. Well, yeah, because I remember when that scene happened and everybody was like, that's fucking impossible. There'd be sand in the action. He'd never be able to shoot that gun. It would misfire, blah, blah, blah. I was like, yeah,
not
probably.
if it's a Glock. Glocks can go through anything. But
yeah, I think it was a 9mm, so I'm pretty sure that.
I like the Mission Impossible movies. I will continue to go see them. I'm just very partial to the one because Philip Seymour Hoffman was so good as the villain in the third one. I'm always going to be partial to that one because I liked him so much. So, and he died it just happened. He dies in that movie like that too. There's no build up. He just gets run over. He's dead.
Sometimes the best way to go.
Right. And nobody was expecting that. That was the thing. It was like, oh shit, he's dead. No, 15-minute fight. He died in a second.
Yeah. And it's like for me, like I enjoy those kind of movies too, but there has to be some level of believability. Once it gets to a certain level, I'm like, yeah, this is getting tough right now. Like they better bring in some like comedy relief to break up this nonsense action.
That's why Dwayne's in the Fast and the Furious. So
I mean, we want to bring out
and Tyrese. That's why Tyrese is there.
The greatest action 3 movies, I think it was, of action heroes. Let's rock out those expandable movies, baby. I watched all 3 of them. We got some great legends in that fucking movie series.
You're right. There was there 3 of those?
Yeah, there was they had a ton of people.
Because it was Expandables 2, and then what was the last one?
Expandables 3.
Was it 3? Oh, I wasn't sure if they gave it like a catchy title or something. Why do I feel
they
like
might
I never
have.
saw the third one?
Just 3.
Harrison Ford was in the third one.
Yeah, I mean, you had Harrison Ford, you had Bruce Willis, you had Jean-Claude Van Damme, Dolph Lundgren.
Willis wasn't in the third one. Harrison Ford kind of sort of replaced Willis in the third one. I mean, he wasn't playing the same character, of course, but that's basically what it was. And supposedly Stallone had wanted to do something with Hogan for, like a really long time. So he was able to, Stallone was able to convince Harrison Ford to do that. He'd wanted to be in a movie with him for a long time. And Ford seemed like he was having a lot of fun in that one because I think he actually got to like fly his helicopter for real in it or something like that.
Yeah, he did. I mean, who else?
And they kind of expanded Schwarzenegger's character in that one too because he had what was definitely just a cameo in the first one, and he was in like a scene or 2 in the second. The third one also had Wesley Snipes and Antonio Banderas. So
Wesley
Mel
Snipes.
Gibson.
Yep, Mel Gibson.
Mel Gibson. Yeah, Mel Gibson. That was the thing. Mel Gibson was.
He was an awesome bad guy. He was an awesome bad guy.
After Jean-Claude Van Damme had been the bad guy in the second one, and I don't remember who the main villain was in the first one, but I remember Steve Austin was a henchman for the bad guy in the first one.
And Austin was in it. Rousey was in it. Rhonda. And
she was in the third one.
So you have some MMA fighters that were in it.
Yeah.
I mean, they had some. They had some. There was the boxer too. There was a boxer. I think it was in the third one with Rousey. I can't remember his name off the top of my head. But they had a list of people. Terry Crews, I think, was in it.
Yeah, I got to go back and watch the third one because I don't remember seeing it. And I know I would have saw it because I enjoyed those movies. They were really good.
That was one where it has like this motorcycle just like goes up this like thing and just flies like 4 stories up and whatnot. I was like, wait a minute, slow down with that shit. There was a little craziness in there, not too much, but he tried to keep it semi-realistic per se. But that was some good stuff. A little cheesy from time to time, but it was fun seeing all those guys in like one movie.
Well,
Speaking of Harrison,
that's another thing about action movie. I'm sorry, man. I was going to say that's another thing with action movies. You got to expect cheesiness. You just do.
Yeah.
So we can talk about Harrison Ford and Indiana Jones.
Well, before we talk about that, I want to just make mention. You mentioned that Mel Gibson was such a good bad guy in the Expendables 3.
Yes,
he plays a really good bad guy in Machete Kills.
Yes, he does. I've seen that. I like that movie.
Talk about far-fetched action movies with Danny Trejo. Oh my God, Machete and Machete Kills. Fuck. Just absolutely ridiculous. Like some of the stuff that they do, like just some of the weapons in general are just ridiculous.
Yeah.
So, but they're funny ass movies. Because I think they were done by Robert Rodriguez. I think he did those movies. Yeah,
I believe so.
Yeah, he did those. He also did From Dusk Till Dawn. Him and why can't I think of his name?
Tarantino.
Yeah, Quentin Tarantino. Thank you. So, all right, AG, what were you gonna say?
I said we can talk about Indiana Jones. We talked about Harrison Ford, and Pat loves Harrison Ford, so we might as well talk about Indiana Jones.
I love me some Harry.
And he grabs forward.
You love yourself some Harry what?
Yeah. Ford. What is this you're referring to, Jeremy? Do we really want to know?
I liked Harry and Henderson's. That was really good.
G.I. Joe, known as half the battle.
That's right. And you don't need to know the other half.
Oh, shit.
Oh, you're doing your Dr. Evil there?
No.
Or Mr. Barnes?
Mr. Burns.
Mr. Burns, sorry.
No.
Okay.
Are you going to talk about Indiana Jones or not, Pat?
Well, what would you like me to say?
That'd be Mrs. Chance. Let's go. Next topic here.
What would you like me to say about Indiana Jones?
I don't know. You love Harrison Ford, so.
Yeah. I mean, see, Indiana Jones is another one where they obviously have action movie elements to them, but it's another one of those ones where I consider Indiana Jones movies more to be like adventure movies. You know,
I agree. It's not really an action movie for me.
I mean, adventure movies are ones where it's like, guys have like a certain quest, and usually it takes you to like exotic locales and
Jumanji.
Shit like that. And so
that's an adventure movie.
I don't know if we're gonna ever do one where we talk about adventure movies, Pat. So this is your chance to talk about Indiana Jones. So
I get that. The other thing with Indiana Jones movies though too is that they're basically they're coming up on 40 years old now, of course, but they're really throwbacks to classic Hollywood movie serials where you would go to the movie theater every week to see the new chapter of said hero going up against whatever bad guy it was. And obviously, since those movies are set in the era in which they were, and of course conveniently in 2 of the 3 movies, who is he fighting? Nazis. And if there's one person we can all agree that we always have to fight at all times, it's Nazis. So and the other thing that, of course, that makes the Indiana Jones movies notable is that, Harrison Ford doesn't really look like an action movie star. He's not somebody who's ripped like Schwarzenegger or Stallone or Van Damme or Seagal or The Rock or Vin Diesel or anybody like that. So, he's and of course he's supposed to just be a fucking archaeology professor. Ha ha ha. So he's not playing a character who's equipped to be doing the things that he's doing. He's not some highly trained, highly skilled government agent or whatever. So that's what makes the Indiana Jones movies unique in a lot of ways, is because it's it has a lot of those action movie moments, but it's also playing against what I guess you could call action movie cliches. So
I definitely like Temple of Doom the best. That's my favorite Indiana Jones movie. So
Yeah, for a long time, Temple of Doom, when I was a little kid, Temple of Doom was the only movie I could sit through and not get scared at. Because there were parts of, the ending of Raiders of the Lost Ark and the ending of Last Crusade with like the effects that they did, what happens to the villains in those movies, freaked me the hell out. Because like Last Crusade came out, I think, when I was like 8, and Raiders, the first time I saw it, I think it was, I was even younger than that. But Temple of Doom, of course, fucking, features the guy ripping the guy's heart out of his chest and then holding it aloft while it then, bursts into flames. That I could sit through. I could not.
Or them eating the monkey brains and some of the delicacies at the dinner table, like the monkey brains and stuff.
The monkey brains and the eyeballs in the soup. I could sit through all of that for some reason. But, the face is melting or the guy turning into a skeleton, instantly. Yeah, I couldn't handle those things. And my dad always found that hilarious, and he still likes to make fun of me for it.
The insects creeped me out in that movie when she's like sticking her hand, all those insects. I was like, that creeped me out a little bit as a kid.
Yeah.
Don't lie, it still creeps you out. There's a bug on the floor.
They don't bother me now, but all those insects at that time, I was like, Jesus.
Where would you guys categorize Big Trouble in Little China?
There's a certain way, I guess, I was always able to dismiss the insects as looking fake, I guess. I assume they were fake.
That's a good question. I almost feel like that's like an action comedy.
What, Big Trouble in Little China?
Yeah.
Definitely.
So I definitely feel like that falls in the action comedy genre.
Yeah, but that's another one which I know there's a huge cult thing with that, as there are with a lot of John Carpenter movies. I watched that for the first time only maybe sometime in the last 2 years. I didn't really get it. I just was like,
Maybe we'll throw the best Christmas movie ever on this list, Die Hard.
I still love that they call that a Christmas movie. It's so fucking funny.
That's awesome.
Well, it came out then. It doesn't make it a fucking Christmas movie.
It was on Christmas.
Right, Die Hard is not a Christmas movie. I will die on that grave. I will die hard on that grave.
Oh man, it's just fun to bring up.
Yeah,
but
that is a
really, Die Hard is that's a legit action movie.
Yeah, and it's got the unbelievability because who the hell's gonna walk on glass and then you're gonna be like, yeah, I'm gonna continue to walk on my feet that are all cut up from fucking glass and it probably has shards of glass still stuck in it,
Yeah.
But he's all popped up on adrenaline at that point, and he's got to save it, and he's got to save his wife. So, yeah.
Yeah. So
just remember, if Die Hard is a Christmas movie, this is the way I've always tried to win that argument. Well, if Die Hard's a Christmas movie, then so is Batman Returns.
Okay.
Yeah, that's just it. That's what people say then. You go, okay. I go, oh, fuck you. Assholes.
So
you never considered Batman Returns a Christmas movie until I just said it.
So let me ask you guys about Gerard Butler, action star or no?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
I don't particularly like him, so.
I mean, he's done 300.
It's not the question.
So I don't really watch his movies, so because I'm like.
You can almost say Law Abiding Citizen's a bit of an action movie, and then obviously the Has Fallen trilogy. I guess you could call it. I don't know how else you call that. Yeah,
I would consider that action movies.
Yeah, I mean, talk about. Well, I don't know if I should say this now, but I mean, you talk about the first one from that one. Olympus Has Fallen. I mean, talk about preposterous.
Yes.
With like an organized group, and especially when it was coming from like another country and a known hostile nation, if you will, mounting an actual like siege on the White House like that, and saying, "Oh, that could never happen." And it's like, yeah, what just happened in this country 2 months ago? So now it makes me wonder.
They were foreshadowing.
I certainly hope not. I don't need North Korea attacking the White House.
What about Point Blank? What do you think of that?
Point blank.
Yes
Why
or
can't
no?
I think of it? I know the movie. Why can't I
That
think
was
of it?
Keanu Reeves and Patrick Swayze.
It's
That's
Point Break.
Oh, that was
Break.
Point Break.
Yeah.
Point Break.
Yeah, I was gonna say
Because there is another movie called Point Blank.
Yeah, I meant Break.
Point Blank was a movie from the late '60s with Lee Marvin, where he plays a hitman who gets betrayed by his partner, and then he's
Joe definitely didn't mean that one.
Yeah, well, that movie was later remade as the Mel Gibson movie Payback. It's the same plot basically. So, but yeah, it's like I was gonna say Point Blank or Point Break, Joe.
Yeah, I meant Point Break. I've seen that one too, Pat, but that was
They
about it.
redid Point Blank too.
I'd consider Point Break an action movie. Yeah,
Yeah, absolutely, I do.
directed by Catherine Bigelow too, which is also interesting because well, first of all, you unfortunately don't see a whole lot of female directors, period. But I think it's even rarer than to see, female directors do, action movies. But she has done a lot of movies that have, if they aren't like action movies, they're going to have action elements because she did like The Hurt Locker and Zero Dark 30 and the one with Harrison Ford and Liam Neeson where they play the Russians on the submarine, which the name of which is escaping me right now. Because it's late on a Friday night, so I can't think.
Crap, I forget what that one's called.
K-19.
Yeah,
I saw that one.
Yeah, so she's in a lot of movies that, again, like I said, if they're not necessarily action movies, they certainly have their action elements to it. But I definitely could consider Point Break an action movie and a pretty good one too.
Then Patriot Games and Clear and Present Danger, both of those.
Yeah. I consider those. Yeah.
Yeah, the Jack Ryan movies. No matter who was playing Jack Ryan, since we've had 5 Jack Ryan movies with 4 different actors.
I know.
I'd consider them all to be, if not totally action movies, definitely they all have a lot of action elements to them, especially Clear and Present Danger.
You guys,
I read the book. I read the book before that, and Patriot Games. I read the books before those movies, and I'm glad I read the books first.
I tried reading one of the ones that they never made into a movie, The Cardinal of the Kremlin, but I think I was too young to read it because that one I think kind of follows up from where it's not a sequel to The Hunt for Red October, but it kind of picks up from at the point where like The Hunt for Red October ends, because there's like an early scene in the movie between Jack Ryan and the character that Sean Connery played in The Hunt for Red October, but then he's like not in the movie with the rest of it. It has to do with Russia and shit, but they never made that one into a movie. So
Taken was another one that I liked. Liam Neeson.
Taken movies are definitely action movies. Yeah,
those were ones I liked.
The first
I enjoyed.
one. I thought the first one was really good. I actually never watched the next 2. I think there was 2 more after that.
You really, to be honest, you're not missing a lot by not watching the sequels.
I figured they were the same thing,
but it's pretty much the same.
Yeah,
it is the same thing in a lot of ways.
They do some crazy stuff in there too, like
it's like first movie, daughter gets taken. Second movie, wife and he get taken. Third movie, he gets set up. I was like, well, we knew we were going to that one eventually. But again, when I talked about action movies having that certain level of preposterousness, if that's a word, the Taken sequels as they go along really ramp up on that level. I mean, there's a scene in the second one where he gets out of the situation. That's not really much of a spoiler, and reconnects with his daughter. And they're like on the run from like the bad guys, and they end up like literally crashing through the gates of like the American embassy in whatever country they're in. I don't remember what country it was. And then he like the next scene is he's left his daughter there, but he's like back out on the streets to go, continue to rescue his wife. And it's like, in reality,
I thought you were going to talk about the scene where like he counts his steps and he's like,
oh, I didn't remember that specifically.
Yeah.
But it's like, I just remember this because I remember saying this at the time I was watching. I think I was watching this with my parents. And I just said, okay. And my dad was like nodding with me the whole time. If he were like, he goes flying through like the gates of the American embassy, like in like an SUV, like, basically breaking into it with like bad guys on his tail and everything. he is not leaving that fucking embassy again. They would arrest him and throw him in his cell.
Just a sec. Don't you know who I am? I'm the man from Taken.
Before they would let him out again, he'd be like, "But my wife's been taken." It's like, what are you talking about? It's like, my wife has been taken. Why do you keep saying taken? Do you mean she was kidnapped? No, she was taken. It's like, imagine the conversation going like that. But it's just like, but obviously that's the level of ridiculousness you expect from an action movie. So
yeah, and Liam Neeson came into the action films pretty late. Like he was kind of a late.
It was basically with the first Taken movie.
Yeah.
And then it's like since then, and he's done like Battleship and the A-Team and the Gray and a couple others, which what was that one? The Commuter and A Walk Among the Tombstones. Yeah, he's done all these these like kind of cerebral in some ways, but in most ways again preposterous action movies. And yeah, the first one wasn't until Taken. He's already in like his like 50s and stuff. So it's like, I guess somebody finally realized, he swung a mean lightsaber once. Maybe he could.
That was his greatest role as Qui-Gon.
maybe he could do action movies now too. It's like he blew through sci-fi because he did Darkman way back in the day, and then he did Star Wars and everything. So yeah, maybe now the time is Liam. You'd imagine like two like executives sitting around like a table saying, "We need a new young hip action star. Who should we get?" Well, what about Liam Neeson? Brilliant.
Well, he was also in that movie with Patrick Swayze, Kin. That was a good one. You don't remember?
He was.
No, he was. Yeah, he played his brother.
Oh.
Yeah.
That was that was a long time ago. Yeah, that was before Liam Neeson was really like a big star.
Oh yeah.
Okay, I haven't seen it, but I know I do. It finally clicked. I know what you're
that was in the late 80s, maybe very early 90s.
Yeah, I mean, see, Liam Neeson didn't even really become a star until really like Schindler's List, which was 1993. So, but I've seen him in like a lot of stuff from prior to that. It's always kind of funny saying like, it's Liam Neeson before he was famous.
Go old school with the 80s with Death Wish.
See, I was never a Death Wish fan.
I like those. The 80s was like my thing for like action, like crazy.
Well, the original
military police type of action, crazy.
Judge Dredd.
Chuck Norris, Delta Force. That's a little cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs, but it was an action movie.
the original Death Wish came out in the 70s, and he started doing sequels. Did Charles Bronson, and then Charles Bronson started doing a bunch of movies that were very similar to Death Wish without, necessarily being Death Wish. Like he did like a lot of like one man against the world kind of movies, where he's like uncovering like conspiracies or shit like that. So,
and I was never a Charles Bronson fan either. That's the problem.
Well, the funny thing is too, is like you're just talking about Liam Neeson becoming an action star late in life. The same thing basically happened for Charles Bronson. He was already like 50 or so by the time he started making those movies. So it's kind of funny how that just happened for some actors like that, where it's like, all of a sudden later in their life, they're action movie stars. They're like, they're kicking the shit out of everybody in every movie that they play in,
and they're half their age.
I know.
Yeah. They're routinely kicking the shit out of guys half their age, but that's because they only have half their experience.
My dad liked Charles Bronson in the Death Wish movies. I was just like, these movies are terrible, Dad.
And then they remade it with Bruce Willis.
I mean, I watched the old Chuck Norris Missing in Action movies too, with Chuck Norris. I don't know. I was just into that crazy.
And I couldn't get into Chuck. Like I could not get into Chuck Norris movies. Like Chuck Norris movies for me were so hard to watch. But I watched his freaking stupid TV series, Walker Texas Ranger. I watched that.
Series. I love that. I loved watching that show.
I don't know why I enjoyed that, and I couldn't watch his movies.
I love watching that show.
The only like Chuck Norris movie I've ever really seen was Code of Silence.
Okay.
Where I think it was set in, I think that was set in Chicago, where he's a cop taking on corrupt cops.
Yeah.
Who are like, doing things, getting away with shit and everything. And that's the whole thing, the Code of Silence, because the corrupt cops won't tell on each other and all that other fun stuff. So yeah, Chuck Norris to me is he always has the action movies down pat, but in terms of like being like an actor, he's even more one note than guys like Schwarzenegger and Stallone are.
Mm-hmm.
With
movie wise, yeah.
He's just very monotone, and he's just very I don't know, just
there's no other word for him.
No, it's monotone. He's very.
There's just very much like there's really like really no difference in how he does things. So
plus we had an appearance by Chuck Norris at the CWA event twice.
Oh boy!
Oh my God. which by the way, I'm getting closer to almost having. I'm getting closer. I was
an appearance by Chuck Norris.
Well, I mean, somebody had to kick Jeff Jarrett's head off. So
yeah, we're getting closer, fans, to that.
I said CWA, Pat, not WWE.
Yeah, we're getting closer to that CWA podcast.
Jarrett at a CWA event?
No.
Oh.
I said Chuck Norris.
God, Pat. Darth Pat.
Did you forget
your evil ways?
That Brett played Chuck Norris?
Yes. Did you know
and
that
Pat Kent, they both did. So we had two different appearances by Chuck Norris.
Did you know that Chuck Norris's first name was actually Carlos?
Yes.
That makes sense. Because he looks like a Carlos.
Yeah, there's one name I would like. Yeah, it's like if I look at Chuck Norris and they said, "What is his first name?" Carlos would have leapt to mind.
I don't think Carlos Norris would have worked for him.
No. But the greatest thing that ever came from Chuck Norris was the Chuck Norris like things like that he can do. Like Chuck Norris doesn't get wet. Water gets Chuck Norris.
Chuck Norris versus Mr. T. It's fucking awesome.
I have all these like Chuck Norris, fact books. So
all the memes that were created with Chuck Norris and all the T-shirts they sold with all that crazy shit, like years back, it was insane.
He actually sued over these things.
Well, yeah, because they were making money off his name.
Well, I think eventually they I think eventually they came to some kind of like a settlement and everything. Here's one of my favorite ones because there's a picture of it too. Vanessa Carlton's hit song "1,000 Miles" was inspired by the distance Chuck Norris kicked her boyfriend after he stepped on Chuck's snakeskin boots. And there's this illustration.
Yeah, I love these things. Like, I don't know if you, AJ, have you ever heard any of these? Like the Chuck Norris's things? Oh my God.
Really?
One. Chuck Norris doesn't read books. He stares at them. He stares them down until he gets the information he wants.
I don't like Chuck Norris, so I don't really care about him. So
okay.
I was never into him at all. So
here's two of my favorites. When Chuck Norris was born, the nurse said, "Holy crap, that's Chuck Norris." Then she had sex with him. At that point, she was the third woman he had slept with. Then this one, a waitress at a Sizzler accidentally gave Chuck Norris a well-done steak instead of a rare steak. Chuck proceeded to have sex with her on the table and said, "Now that's well done." Wait. The waitress replied, "That's pretty rare too." Chuck then had sex with her 15 more times just to prove her wrong.
Oh, that stuff gets me all the time. Shit makes me laugh. It's so
here's a video game one I think you guys will enjoy.
When I read those things, I just can't imagine the brain that could produce those thoughts.
I know. It's funny.
AJ, you might like this one because it's a video game one. So Chuck Norris appeared in Street Fighter 2 video game, but was removed by beta testers because every button caused them to do a roundhouse kick. When asked about this glitch, Chuck Norris replied, "That's no glitch."
I think that's in that same book that I was reading from.
Oh,
yeah, I love that one too. It was like, so I can just picture like Chuck Norris just being like, "That's no glitch."
So yeah,
and then saying it in such a threatening manner that they were like, "Okay."
I just remember when those came out. I mean, that's probably 10 years ago or so when those first started coming out. The Chuck Norris's.
It's got to be longer than that now, yeah. But yeah.
I just remember those. Me and my brother-in-law, we were reading them and going through them, and we were just like on the floor dying. They were just like had us rolling because it's so ridiculous, and that's what makes them funny.
Yeah, there's times I try to read those things out loud, and I would not be able to get through one, but I would just start cracking up because it was just too hilarious. So
yeah, and it's just so funny because of all the people they could have done like these things about, like how tough they are, they picked Chuck Norris. Like, of all the people, no Schwarzenegger, no Stallone, no any other action hero, Chuck Norris. It's like, why him?
I know. It's so random, but good old Chuck.
AJ, you look like you got something you want to say or something you want to talk about. Oh, okay.
Nope. This is not really my area of specialty. I don't watch a lot of these movies, so.
Oh, okay. Well, should we bring it into the modern day, more of the modern day action?
No, I just don't.
Oh, okay.
I'm not an action movie person, like especially like the ones other than the Fast and the Furious. I don't really watch a lot of the stuff. So.
Oh, okay. Well, hey, everybody's got their own thing that they watch. I mean, I watch a lot of different stuff, a lot of stuff some of you guys probably would never watch. Maybe Darth Pat, because Darth Pat's more likes history.
Because Darth Pat's weird like you. That's why.
No, that is very true. Like I like to watch a lot of documentary type stuff, a docuseries, and Netflix has a ton of them. So I watch a lot of those too. Like when I'm like, what should I watch? Oh, let's learn about like this, and it'll be like some random thing like I'm watching right now. I'm watching what the heck is The Age of the Samurai right now. It's a docuseries.
I have that on my list. On my list to watch, my watch list. I added that.
It's all about the samurais in Japan and the turmoil that happened in Japan and how, it's really interesting. But like that's something I would never expect anybody else to watch. Well, now I know Joe's going to watch it eventually.
I love that samurai shit.
I'm really picky when it comes to like that kind of stuff. Like I really, really like even on like the network, WWE network, I don't watch half the other stuff they put on there besides the pay-per-views. Like I don't give a shit about the Undertaker. I didn't watch that series because I don't give a shit. So and like they're doing one tomorrow night or tonight. It's like Goldberg at 54. Like I give a fuck about watching Goldberg at 54. Like they just do a lot of ones that I have no interest in a lot of that stuff. And I love wrestling, and I don't really like watching all the stuff about what happens in like Miz and Maurice. I don't give a shit about that show. I could care less.
I watch that show. Those guys, I love them. They make me laugh.
So
they're funny.
I gotta ask. I know we're kind of going off topic here.
I didn't mean to. I'm just saying. I'm just very picky.
No. Did you watch? I just watched the Yokozuna documentary.
That one I would like to watch. That one I'm slightly
I've not yet, but I do want to watch that one.
Really, really good. Like I was like, holy shit.
Yeah, I watched that one. It was pretty good. I don't feel like, because of some of the podcasts I listen to, I don't feel like I learned a lot new from it. But that's, again, like I said, that's because like, especially like on Pritchard's podcast, they covered Yokozuna not all that long ago, and Pritchard was interviewed for that documentary, so they talked a lot. There was some overlap and stuff, but
it was let the cat out of the bag, huh?
It was pretty well done. It was great how they talked to like a lot of the family, like the Anawai family members and everything. So that was definitely good about it, and seeing some of the rare footage about that, especially how he was originally supposed to be a head shrinker, was was pretty interesting. So like I had never really known that before.
Yeah, I didn't realize how big he got. Like I didn't realize he was that big by the time his life ended.
I
like,
remember
shit.
I remember hearing it at the time. Yeah, so it's just
so that was crazy. But I digress. We'll go back.
Digress. I'm not saying anything more about wrestling. So.
No. It's okay because I was just curious about that.
We're done with the podcast, then I will. But not.
It's all right.
There is something wrestling related I would like to bring up before we sign off. But.
No.
Okay.
All right. So
yes, go ahead. Maybe we got
to talk.
Permission.
We got to talk about some of the big action stars. That probably most people know: Stallone and Schwarzenegger. We got to talk about those because those guys, pretty much all they've done is action movies. Schwarzenegger did do the comedy Twins.
Kindergarten Cop.
But even Kindergarten Cop was kind of an action movie. It was more like a suspense movie, but there was still some action in it. But
where's that other Schwarzenegger did with the toy?
It's not a kids movie.
Oh, Jingle All the Way or whatever.
Yeah, Jingle All the Way. That was definitely not an action
for that
movie.
action figure.
God, that movie's so bad.
An action star fighting for an action figure. Interesting.
It's funny. Back in the day, I really, really liked the movie Twins, but I watched it probably 5 years ago, and I was like, this isn't as good as I remember it being.
No, same. I thought it was cool when it came out, and then later on, watch it again. It was like, wow, this was definitely a little not so great.
For me,
not every movie ages well.
For me, if you take the Rocky movies out, my favorite Stallone movie is Demolition Man. So
yeah, Demolition Man was great. That movie was actually really good.
I always liked Wesley Snipes too, so
yes,
I was always a fan of his. So
as is why.
Well, yeah, and you were getting Wesley Snipes in his prime. Like that was his prime of being an action star and being in those type movies. Yeah, he had the Blade movies that were going on shortly. I think those were after Demolition Man, I believe.
Yeah, they were. The thing with Demolition Man that I always is kind of stuck with me is what the fuck is that 3 shells thing?
Oh no.
I mean,
Demolition Man, the one where everything's a Taco Bell too. Is that one?
Yeah. We got every restaurant to talk about now. But I've tried to honestly think about how there could be this 3 shell thing instead of toilet paper being used, and I just can't come up with.
He picks that out of the whole movie.
and how they have sex. Like they put on the goggles.
Oh yeah, the virtual, virtual reality sex.
Like kind of virtual reality stuff. I mean, there's shit like that now. I mean, I guess, right?
Pat knows all about that.
I don't hate myself enough to go into virtual reality to try to have sex. Not yet, anyway.
Yeah.
He said not yet. He made sure and stuck that in there.
Well, hey, I don't know what the next several years will bring.
Oh man,
I've given up on predicting the future, man.
Just wait. There's gonna be eventually a thing that you can hook up to your computer. You can go onto a porn site, and it's gonna, the girl will get close enough to do the, to suck you off. Well, it looks like you're sucking you off, and there's gonna be a tube touched to your dick where it's like fucking going up and down like it's being sucked. I'm telling you, it's gonna happen.
What just happened?
That sounds like too much effort and too much equipment needed.
Hey, they already have those things that they what are they called? Fleshlights. They already have those.
Oh, this is digressing too.
I think you mean disturbing.
They have tons of stuff that will just float your fanny.
I don't want nothing touching my fanny.
Yeah, I don't know how you float your fanny, but
there's ways. There's ways.
I'll take.
So as I was going to say something about Stallone, if you take Rocky and Rambo movies out of the equation, I do like Demolition Man. That was a favorite of mine. But one of the other ones, and it's kind of a different type of take for Stallone, was the movie Cobra.
Oh, that was good.
I liked that one. And the other one he did in the was the early 80s or late 70s, where he was a cop. I can't remember the name off the top of my head.
I mean, he was in Victory, and that was a good movie, that soccer movie about Pele. Like, he was in that, and I like that movie. So
yeah, that was a good movie. I saw that.
Sylvester Stallone, Michael Caine, and Pele, a more unlikely trio I don't think you'll ever find.
Definitely so. Yeah, Cobra was something just different. The car was cool too. There was something else about Cobra that just kind of, I don't know, it was cool to me.
I vaguely remember seeing Cliffhanger in a theater, and I remember ridiculous shit happening in that movie, but I don't remember watching the whole movie because I believe I was with female people at that one, and I wasn't paying attention.
Oh, you were a female and you weren't paying attention. So what was she doing to you that you weren't paying attention?
Stuff.
Oh, okay. Okay.
I remember liking Cliffhanger. I also remember seeing
Cliffhanger was good.
I also remember seeing some quote that Stallone gave about filming Cliffhanger because they were like on the mountains and stuff and everything, where he said something to the effect of like, sometimes it was so cold it was hard to articulate. And I
yeah, that's the problem.
And it's like, man, that is very, very. That's very, very true, Sly.
Dollar. That was a
Tango and Cash.
I saw that.
Tango and Cash.
I saw that.
Oh, that was another good one. See, these are the ones I forget about. Tango and Cash.
Yeah, I don't think I've actually seen Tango and Cash.
That was another one. That was another one I saw at the $1.50 movie theater with ladies.
I've seen Tequila Sunrise, but that wasn't Stallone. That was Mel Gibson and Kurt Russell.
Hey, $1.50 movie theater. That's a cheap date back when we were in high school, Joe.
Yes.
Especially if I was getting other things done for that $1.50. It was well worth it. So.
And then you had, of course, Stallone's biggest one, Over the Top.
Yeah. I mean, I liked that movie as a kid for sure. I definitely liked that movie. So
it's something where when I just turn the hat backwards here, it's like a switch that goes off.
Oh man,
I don't have a good Sly impression.
Well, that's another one of Pat's things.
Nighthawks. That's the movie I was thinking of. Nighthawks.
Okay.
Yes.
Wait, what was that Stallone line you were just trying to say there, Jeremy?
The whole thing about the switch when he turns the hat backwards is like turning on a switch.
Right over the top.
We're gonna turn on a switch now.
Jesus. Doesn't sound like he's got some kind of. Never mind. I can't even say it without
shit in his mouth.
He's making. What are you trying to say here, Jeremy? Are you trying to say there's something wrong with the way I talk?
What the hell show is that really made fun of him? Like, was that Family Guy that made it sound like he had like that he couldn't talk, like he was just mumbled?
I think so, yeah. You know, another movie he did, it was more of like a comedy, but I just found it hilarious, was Oscar. I've seen every one of his movies except for two.
I've seen like back in the day, like I remember seeing parts of Oscar, like when it was on, like, well, probably would have been HBO, and I just remember going, "What?"
Yeah,
and the greatest,
pretty bad.
The greatest movie he ever did, Stop or My Mama Will Shoot.
Oh, she was funny.
I also saw that in the $1.50 theater. So we're going down a list of movies that I saw while I was getting hand jobs and stuff in the movie theater. So
I've never been able to bring
good
myself to watch Stop and My Mama Will Shoot.
One of those times, guys. I don't remember which movie, but one of them that was with twins. So
Rhinestone was another one with Dolly Parton.
I said I was one of the movies I was with twins, Pat. So I went with twins, and stuff was happening on both sides.
So evidently, back in the day, AJ was a player.
Player.
Yes.
Player.
Are you the take but not receive type of guy?
No, I definitely was not.
Thank you so much, ladies. And now I'll be seeing you. Have a nice night.
Here's a gift basket.
It's got apples and oranges and bananas.
Man.
You particularly enjoy the
shit.
bananas.
Oh my god. Oh man, that's funny.
You guys are just making me. All these movies we're talking about are movies I went and saw when I was like a sophomore and a junior in high school. So,
What a good winky dink. We got the right movies here. Oh man.
So I mean, we talked a little bit about Stallone. We got to talk about Schwarzenegger because he had some really awesome action movies too. And the Terminator movies and
Conan the Barbarian.
Conan the Barbarian, Conan the Destroyer. But then we also had, like we mentioned, Kindergarten Cop.
Well, with
Commando.
Stallone,
I like that one.
with Stallone, or not Stallone, Jesus, Schwarzenegger.
hey, Pat.
There's another what I would call like quintessential element of a great action movie.
Okay.
The one-liner.
And Schwarzenegger is really,
that set his career off.
Schwarzenegger is obviously like, the master of the one-liners. I mean, obviously it started with like, with I'll be back. And
I'll be back.
then, you get stuff from like, what was it? Commando, which is almost like nonstop one-liners, or it's like,
Yeah.
that let off some steam, Bennett. Or it's like, like, I like you, Sully. You're a funny guy. That's why I'm going to kill you last. And then later when he's got him dangling over the cliff, it's like, remember when I said I would kill you last? Yeah, you did. I lied. Drops him, Then he goes walking back, and the woman asks him, what'd you do with him? I let him go.
Junior was another one of his movies that I watched, and it was very odd.
I bought that on VHS way back in the day, and really couldn't figure out why then.
Why did he even agree to do a movie like that is beyond me.
I guess he figured it was time to do a comedy again. I think he and Danny DeVito were really good friends, and they
do a movie about me getting pregnant. Okay.
Yep.
Somebody convinced him to do it.
Yeah.
I mean, in retrospect, though, that is most certainly one of those movies where it went like, who the fuck greenlit that? So.
Yeah. Because I don't even think that plays.
He's had some strange movies.
Well, now.
I'll say that.
No, it doesn't. I'm trying to think of some other great Schwarzenegger one-liners.
It's not a Tuma.
Well, I think from like the action movies. I mean, he had some good ones in The Running Man, which again, that's one that straddles the line between like action and sci-fi, which apparently they're remaking that now.
What?
Yeah, I did hear about their remake.
Of course they are, because they don't know how to make an original movie, so they have to remake everything.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, at the same time, though, I mean, it's based on was it a book or a novella?
It's based on a Stephen King book from the Batman books, because I've read the story. So
yeah, so you could have
had some one-liners in it.
You could almost argue they're not necessarily remaking the movie. They could be saying, well, they're just going to film a new version of the story or blah blah blah. I mean,
some things are best left untouched. Like if they ever try to redo the Shawshank Redemption, I'll be like, no, that movie's amazing. Don't ever remake this or another take on that story. Don't try it.
Well, that's actually kind of funny you say that, because when I went back to college a few years ago, I took this class to fulfill one of like the gen ed requirements, and it was like it was literature and film. So it was like we like read the book and then like watch the movie was based on. And Shawshank Redemption was one of them. The other ones were like Stand By Me, which was based on a different Stephen King movie, and the first Harry Potter movie, and a couple others. Then we had to do a final group project where we had to like do like a pitch to do like a remake of one of the movies based on a story that we had watched. In my group, we picked, the Body, which was the story that Stand By Me was based on. We came up with enough stuff that kind of both stuck to the original story while changing elements from the original story. It was also different enough from the film Stand By Me that I thought I frankly thought we had the best pitch of anybody in the class. Nobody did Shawshank Redemption, thank God. And I think that's because everybody realized that they couldn't do it. One group actually tried to do Harry Potter, and they tried to Americanize it. They were suggesting like Robin Williams, because he was still alive, and Rosie O'Donnell to play some of like the professor roles. And I was sitting in the back of the room, barely containing my laughter at how terrible their ideas were, and just saying to myself, "Oh my God! If they ever tried to if somebody ever went into a studio executive's office right now and suggested, let's remake Harry Potter with Robin Williams as Dumbledore and Rosie O'Donnell as McGonagall or whatever." Oh my God, they would be laughed out of that office so fucking fast.
I actually, because I went back and recently I read all those stories like from the Backman books, and I read all of that like a lot. I've been reading all of Stephen King's story books, and Nicole, she had never seen The Shawshank Redemption, so we watched that, and that movie is still good. Like, it didn't really age to me. Like, I watched it 20 years later or whatever, and it's still a really good movie. Like, Nicole did not know what to expect, and she was just like, wow, that was a really good movie.
Well, you have to understand something. Movies with Morgan Freeman narration
are awesome.
Simply do not age. Once you apply that classic Morgan Freeman voice to a movie soundtrack, it becomes immortal, and it can never be replaced.
Yeah,
I just miss my friend.
No more, and it's just one of those great movies. You know what other movies were really good? Lethal Weapon, all the different Lethal Weapon movies.
Yeah,
it's funny. It's like I remember the last Lethal Weapon movie that they did, and I gotta be honest, I really hope they don't try to do another one again.
No,
because they're just too old. I mean, shit. Danny Glover's character was saying, "I'm getting too old for this shit" in 1987. What the hell would he say in 2021?
I'm dead.
But like the last movie came out before Gene Siskel of Siskel and Ebert, passed away. Mm-hmm. And I remember he like gave a quote where he gave it thumbs down, and he had given all the Lethal Weapon movies thumbs down. And he said that he asked Danny Glover, "Is this going to be the last Lethal Weapon movie?" And Danny Glover said yes, and he said to him, "Good," or something like that. I enjoy all the Lethal Weapon movies to various extents. The last one had too much jumping the shark moments, and maybe a little bit. It may be a little too much Jet Li, to be honest. But I enjoy all of them. I think I would actually say the second one's probably my favorite. So the one with the South African apartheid guys being the bad guys. So
okay.
Diplomatic immunity. It's been revoked. Talk about the great action movie one-liners. So.
Indeed.
Beverly Hills Cop. I think those are.
Oh yeah.
Those are definitely action comedies, like the Rush Hour movies. But the Beverly Hills Cop movies are. I find all three of them enjoyable. Even the last one, which I know a lot of people love to rip on. I kind of love the fact that it's set mostly in a theme park. And there's one part there in the third one where he's like running away from the security guards who are after him. And he jumps onto like the one ride, and he cuts in front of like this couple, and the guy in the couple is George Lucas. he's all like, "Hey," he's like, "Sorry guys," and then they just turn and was like, "Oh, come on." It's fun hysterical that George Lucas did a cameo in a movie like that. So.
The theme music was cool for Beverly Hills, so
yeah,
it was.
That Beverly Hills Cop definitely has one of the most instantly recognizable theme musics of any movie of all time. So yeah, it's like you hear that music, everybody goes, Oh, it's Beverly Hills Cop music. So,
what about Jason Statham? He makes action movies.
I've only seen a few of his.
I only liked him in Hobbs and Shaw. I'm not a huge fan of his, but I liked him when he was in Hobbs and Shaw and when he was in the Fast and the Furious movies. So
here's the thing with him. He's very.
He's Steven Seagal-ish to me in the sense of
yes.
You're
not reason. That's a good comparison, Pat.
Well, what I mean by that is I don't mean to say that his acting is on par with Steven Seagal, because most people I think pretty much agree that Steven Seagal's acting is.
Yes.
Yeah. What I mean is that his movies feel a lot like Steven Seagal movies, in that, like, it's like the one man who's pretty much going to use like his fists and his feet, his body to. To do the fighting. He's not really going to necessarily be picking up guns and knives and shit. So,
yeah, his action movies are very just. I can't even think of the word I want to say. They're odd. They're just odd action.
Like Crank,
movies.
Right? Didn't he do one called Crank?
Yeah,
like it's weird. They're like weird.
Weren't there two?
Yeah, there was.
There
was a couple of them. He just
Crank
has
High Voltage or something like that too.
Yeah, he just has weird action movies where they're just the plots are just so out there.
But
not in that manner though. It's just I don't know.
He gets the one-liners in the Fast and the. He got the one-liners, like he was the guy. Him and Dwayne both got one-liners in the Fast and the Furious and in Hobbs and Shaw. So, like, he's a guy that they give the one-liners to. So,
I mean, he can act too. I just like the action movies he picks to do. It kind of baffles me at times.
Yeah, like I said, I'm not. I just like I didn't really watch those movies. I've really only seen him in the Fast and Furious stuff, and I've enjoyed him in those. So
yeah, I mean, he has an odd choice of picking the movies that he's in.
So you guys mentioned soundtrack to Beverly Hills Cop.
Oh, here.
Yeah. Yeah.
Is that in Beverly Hills Cop?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Oh yeah.
That's not the song me and Pat were referring to.
No, sure. I know that's not necessarily the theme's music, but I also have from that, because I don't know, I for some reason I just really like that song, and I also liked this song.
If you're listening to Kenny Loggins, you're probably watching an 80s movie.
Yes. Yes. I like that song. I knew Joe would know this song. Is awesome. I am down with that.
Little Pointer Sisters there. The Neutron Dance.
Absolutely.
And yes, I did pay for those songs, people, so don't try and sue us. No.
You have to throw disclaimers in front of the video.
Yeah. Disclaimer: these songs were bought on iTunes with my own money. Thank you.
Pat, what was your wrestling thing you wanted to bring up?
Yeah, because I think we're really kind of coming to the end of our show. There's a million different action movies that we could talk about and action stars, and it could go on and on. This could be like a 4-hour session if we really wanted to, but I think we've kind of hit on the really major ones, major actors, major movies, so I think it's a good time to wrap it up. And do we want to do a Mount Rushmore, or do we just want to?
No, you said we were going to do a Mount Rushmore.
Okay, I'm going to switch
favorite character.
Oh no, I'm going to switch it up on you now.
Oh God, no! Swerve. It's a swerve, bro.
I'm swerving, yes. So, Pat, what was your wrestling thing that you did want to talk about?
Well, so they did Shaq. And Big Show's there now, and I found that really hysterical to see that he was wearing some T-shirt that said something like "No more BS."
Fucking terrible. Fucking horrible. I was just
No
like,
more
that shirt
BS.
is so stupid and so lame. I'm just like, give me a break.
Yeah,
I laughed when I saw it.
He couldn't even say the name of the pay-per-view. He like botched the name of the pay-per-view the other night. Good job, Big Show.
I mean, I will be blatantly honest. When I saw the screenshot of that shirt, I think my reaction was literally. But I see that they're teasing some big, huge, mega, immense, game-changing.
Me and Joe actually talked about this before you guys got on.
Earth-shattering, universe-altering surprise. For
You're
their
really going that depth with it, or did you just
Sunday?
exaggerate that?
I told Joe that if it's not Brock Lesnar or John Cena, then it doesn't really matter that much. It's not that landscape change of an announcement. It's not going to be either of them. Mr. CM Punk has already said there's a Blackhawks game that day, so it's not him. So,
yeah, I mean,
nice.
Well, here's what I wanted to say about it. Cage Side Seats, which is one blog that I go to.
I think it's Rob Van Dam, Pat. So.
Which is part of the SB Nation thing. They basically speculated and said there's really only one of four names where it could really be some kind of earth-shattering, big, huge.
Rob Van Dam and Christian are on that list.
Well, I mean, they listed a whole shitload of people who it could be. Rob Van Dam was one of them. Christian was not, because I think I'm sorry, Christian was. But they mentioned there's really only four people who they could really see that would really truly be earth-shattering. The Rock, John Cena, Brock Lesnar, and CM Punk. I definitely.
It's not CM Punk, and there's no way The Rock would do that, especially after watching the Young Rock this week, where they did that shit to his mom or his grandma or whatever. There's no way The Rock would do that. So
I can't see it really being any of those four guys for very.
Me neither.
I will say this.
Brock is the one person that could jump for the money. He's the only one that has no loyalty. So
yeah. If it did end up being Punk, I'd start watching their show. I honestly would, because that would intrigue me enough. Brock, not really, because I wouldn't care about Brock wrestling any of those guys. You know, Brock's not like a character on his own. We know that he needs a mouthpiece, and he wouldn't necessarily have it in AEW. They could maybe find someone to pair with him, but I don't really.
Not really.
It's not going to be the same.
I don't really know who that would be, and nobody would be as good as Heyman, of course. Brock and Cena are WWE lifers. I just don't see it. If I were to have to give a prediction of who I think it's going to be, you said Rob Van Dam. I'm going to go out on a limb. I'm going to say it's Kurt Angle. And again, so.
Right. The broken freaking neck.
Nothing against Kurt Angle, but he's how old now? And really probably shouldn't be wrestling. So
here's the only thing. They said, Tony Khan said it's not somebody he made it sound like it's not somebody who's in the Hall of Fame. So he made it sound like it's a Hall of Fame, future Hall of Famer or something he alluded to. So that's the only reason why I don't think it's Kurt Angle.
Well, they said it's a Hall of Fame worthy talent.
Okay. But to me, that sounds like somebody that's not in the Hall of Fame yet. That's what it sounds like to me. So
that's what you could assume, yes, but I don't think it's necessarily safe to assume that.
Just be the Sandman.
Right.
I mean, if it's Rob Van Dam, I won't be. It's what?
Well, yeah.
Okay.
Here's the thing. I like I said, I'm going to say Kurt Angle, which to me is there's nothing game changing or altering about that. Same with Rob Van Dam.
No.
There's nothing.
It's just like they do this stuff in wrestling. They're doing it for NXT next week too. They're already like, oh, we're going to make a announcement that's going to change everything, and there's going to be women's tag team titles in NXT. That's cool. That's not like life-altering stuff. Yeah. So they do this with wrestling where they try to hype something up like it's a big deal, and usually it's a disappointment.
The greatest wrestling match of all time.
I just really think it's going to be a top indie guy who's technically a free agent right now, and is just going to and just wrestling at different promotions, getting paid per appearance. Yeah, that's what I think it is.
That's not, that's not like, game changing, universe altering, So I just wanted to say that because I'm at least intrigued just to see who it is.
That could be the swerve though too.
I'm not going to order the pay-per-view, but I will pay attention to see who it ends up being.
It could just be the Big Show. He could say, it's me, myself, because
that would suck.
I know. I just this is going back so far now, but I just remember the last time that they were really hyping up a huge surprise for this was at one of the WCW pay-per-views in 2000, and the surprise ended up being that Goldberg turned heel, which was terrible.
Yeah.
So,
sounds about right.
I've just come to expect that anytime that anybody, doesn't matter what organization, what promoter, booker, on-screen authority figure, promises some huge big change like this, I'm just like, well, it's gonna suck.
I mean, this could be, to be honest with you, I just think it's a top indie guy or if it's somebody from New Japan coming over.
Maybe they're gonna bring Enzo in. Mr. Enzo.
Maybe.
So speaking of that,
they're wrestling. They were somewhere. Him and Cass were somewhere like a week ago.
They're my other out of the box. They're the other out of the box thought because Big Cass just started wrestling again. So
nobody gives a shit about the two of them though at this point.
They're not game changers really. So
no, they're most certainly not game changers.
If Cass is the person in the ladder match that they're advertising, that makes more sense. He fits more as their surprise person that's going to be in the ladder match. That fits a little bit more there.
Yeah. All right. So let's get on with it.
What's your swerve?
Oh, just give me a second. So it is coming to the end of our show, which means it is time for Mount Rushmore. And Mount Rushmore this week is going to be our favorite action movie of all time. So yes, we're not going with favorite action character. We're going with favorite action movie. And I'll be perfectly honest, it's because I have been so busy that I could not pinpoint an action character. So I had to cop out, and that's why we're swerving it.
I could still do that too. That doesn't matter.
You lazy mother.
Yeah, that is very true. So I'll go first since since I threw you guys off and I had time to think about this one myself. I am going to go with Enter the Dragon. Now, I know it's kind of on the edge of not action, more, kung fu, spy movie, but when it comes down to it, it's still an action movie because the amount of action in it, whether it's the tournaments that, the tournament that they're doing, whether it's the scene where he gets into the underground lair or the fight scene with the boss at the end of the film. Enter the Dragon, by far for me, is one of those movies that I can watch over and over and over again and not get bored with it and be able to enjoy it every single time. Even though I know exactly what's going to happen, it's never boring to me. Like, I can't wait to sit down. Now, my son will probably never like that movie. He'll probably like, Dad, this movie sucks. But I can't wait to sit down with him and watch that movie and say, this is Dad's favorite movie and probably one of my favorite action stars, even though his career was so short-lived. He died at 33. I mean, that was freaking crazy. But that is definitely my pick, is Enter the Dragon. All right. Who would like to go next? Joe, you got one, AJ, or Darth Pat?
I'm going to be the first person to pick the same movie twice on a Mount Rushmore.
You can go next then.
Okay, go ahead.
I'm taking Fast Five again. So, I just picked it for the when we did the wrestling movie thing. I was actually excited, Jeremy, because you were going to make me pick a character from. You were going to make me pick a character from the Fast and the Furious instead of a specific movie. So. Now I'm picking the same movie I picked the last time we did this, essentially. So,
well, you can
I could take just all of them. I could just take the whole like 8 movies up to this point because I really do like all of them. So, but I was actually going to pick. I wasn't going to pick Luke Hobbs. I was going to pick Brian O'Connor because Paul Walker is the reason why I started watching the series in the first place. So,
right, and that would have been an awesome one. That would have been. That's a really good pick. So, maybe I'll throw that up as the honorable mention for your what was going to be our Mount Rushmore. But yeah, no, for the Fast and Furious movies, for me, I didn't really weigh in this when we talked about those. Like for me, those movies just got to a point, and I would still watch them, but it's like when they were pulling down the plane and just the stuff that's getting just like too unbelievable. Like these are just cars. Like they still only weigh so much weight, and so they can't just do whatever they want to because they put a turbo in this car and now it can fly across their canyon.
Like the one where Dom's dry. Where is he in Cuba or wherever he's at? The movie starts off. He's in Cuba or something like that.
Okay, that's just the Fast and the Furious. That's the fourth one, I believe you're talking about. That's the one where he goes to jail at the end?
It might be. I think so. But that's the one, like the craziness Jeremy was talking about is where he's like there and he races some dude's car and he's got this beat up car and he like pulls the fucking bumper off and he rigs the thing. Like I watched the show, like it's a Mythbuster show, and he like talked about that and they're like, that shit is so off the wall fake. That shit can never happen with the car. He can never make the car do that because the car would fucking blow up in like 10 seconds. But just like something that's so crazy and off the wall, he turns the car around and wins backwards. Nah, the car can't go that fast backwards. It's not happening.
Maybe about 40 miles an hour if you slam it to the floor. And that would be scary ass driving backwards that fast. Yeah.
Most cars, I think it's the reverse is geared to do like 35 to 40. And that's it. So if you're driving that fast, if they're doing that fast, those other cars are doing like 5 miles an hour to make it look like it's driving fast.
That's almost like them dunking on 8-foot rims and above the rim and stuff, like in basketball movies when they're dunking on 8-foot rims instead of real 10-foot hoops.
What they don't show is there's the trampolines that they're jumping off of for the 10-foot rims.
And I like above the rim. I loved above the rim, but they're definitely dunking on 8-foot rims in that movie. So
8-9 feet, something like that. Yeah, absolutely.
No way Tupac's dunking on a 10-foot rim ever. So
not without a ladder.
Oh man.
Darth Pat, do you have a favorite action movie?
Yes. I mentioned it kind of briefly in passing before, but this movie holds a special significance for me because it was the first R-rated movie I ever went to go see by myself.
Ooh.
Back in the summer of 1997 when I was 16 and lied to them about how old I was, because this was at the time where they were just starting to ask if you were 17 to see an R-rated movie. They weren't asking for ID. They were just asking, are you 17? And I was 16, so I was just all like, yeah. Like, why are you asking me?
And you're already a giant, so who's going to deny the fact that you're 17?
You're already the big show. No more BS.
So anyway, that movie was Con Air. I just always enjoyed that movie because, again,
I like it.
I like that movie a lot too.
Ridiculous plot. Lots of, memorable characters, most of whom were bad guys who you can't wait to see get killed in the end.
Mm-hmm.
Prime Nicolas Cage in terms of not only is this only like a year or two after he won the Oscar, but he's like, all right, I'm going to do a Southern accent. And I'm going to have long hair. It's going to be great.
His Southern accent was terrible.
And number 4, he gets to see Steve Buscemi drinking tea with coffee with a fucking doll.
Yeah, that was great. Like I remember one review of it, describing look of Cage's character and everything is like as Christ gone Rambo.
Oh God.
And I'm like accurate. But John Malkovich is entertaining as hell.
Yes,
as the main villain, and then
Yes.
I also really like the interaction between John Cusack as like the agent who realizes that Cage is trying to help, and Cole Meany from Star Trek as the Dick agent and everything. So it's just very entertaining, and like I said, it really has all the it has all like those great action movie check marks that I mentioned. Like my favorite one-liner is like where like the drug dealer guy is supposed to be helping the convicts escape, but he's like just doing it just to get himself broken out, and the convicts realize that because he only had like a little like 4-passenger plane at the airfield instead of like a one that could take like all of them and everything. And like the plane like crashes and it's covered in gas, and he like stumbles out and he's like, "Sai Onara," and he like flicks the cigarette into the gas, and everything. So, yeah, I've just always really enjoyed that movie.
That's a good movie, Pat. That's a good movie.
Yeah, it's one I could put on and just sit there and just watch it and just like really turning your brain off for 2 hours, but just have fun watching it.
Mm-hmm. All right, Theo, that leaves you, sir.
So yeah, switch it up on me, you jackass. It's not really that. It's not really that difficult, to be honest.
Hey,
so
just when you think you've got the answers, he changes the question.
Oh, I know. So, same movie Jeremy mentioned is one type of action movie I like. War movies are another, probably my top favorite action movies. So I pick Rambo, First Blood Part 2. As that, I really liked that movie when I was a kid. I watched a lot of war shows. It was just kind of something military thing. My dad was in the army and stuff like that. So, that was kind of another thing. He watched a lot of old Westerns. He watched John Wayne. He watched a lot of military-esque movies as well. John Wayne was a lot of military movies. So it's kind of why I started watching military movies. So like the action movies, when they started, becoming more popular and whatnot in the 80s, that was just my favorite action movie, war movie, no matter how crazy or how unrealistic some of that shit might have been. Mm-hmm. It was cool. The arrow where he puts the tip on of it that fucking blows up and he blows people up with shooting the bow and arrow into guys. I'm like, yeah, that's some sweet ass shit. And the machete too, that fucking knife he had. My dad had one like that, and I was like, yeah, that knife is some badass shit. I remember they used to sell those as like collector's items, real knives, but just like $80 for this fucking Rambo fucking knife and shit like that. And it came with the little the flint and the stuff to sharpen the blade and all that stuff. I was like,
whetstone,
yeah, those things were awesome. So Rambo, First Blood Part 2, that's my movie. And since you fucking had to switch it up, I'm going to tell you who the person I was going to pick was. So the person I'm going to pick is John Wick, because if I'm going to get dropped off in a foreign country and the scenario is I have to save the love of my life, John motherfucking Wick is coming with me. That's who I'm bringing to help me rescue them and get the fuck out.
Very nice.
John Wick. Thank you.
Pat, did you have one for the original proposed Mount Rushmore?
No, I hadn't really thought about it.
Okay. So two of us were being lazy bastards.
We'll just say Indiana Jones for Pat, because this is one time to use him. So we'll just say Pat would have picked Indiana Jones.
Yeah, I'll be honest. If I didn't pick Indiana Jones, I'd probably go just as cliche and just like pick like James Bond. So.
All right. So
either of those is a good pick, Pat.
So our Mount Rushmore this week for favorite action movie is Enter the Dragon, Fast 5, Con Air, and Rambo First Blood Part 2. As you can see, just as goofy, just as crazy and different as we are, so are our movie picks for this week with action movies. So we just want to thank everybody for tuning in. We greatly appreciate it. We have a lot of fun doing this, even when it's something like this, which is so broad, so vast, so many different movies you can pick from, talk about, narrow it down to a couple people, couple different genres here. Have fun with it. I hope you guys enjoyed it. We do appreciate you guys tuning in wherever you get to see this. If you're catching on YouTube, make sure you're hitting the like button, hitting the notification button, subscribing to our channel so you never miss an episode. And so we know that you're out there. Drop a comment with something that you liked about the show this week. If you're catching us on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify, Amazon Music, or iHeartRadio now.
You dropped that. I'm like, whoa, iHeartRadio?
Yes, we're on there now too. And hopefully soon we'll be on Pandora podcast too. Soon, hopefully. Reach out to us however you can and give us a like. Go over to the YouTube channel and find us there. You can find all of our different stuff under Four Guys Roundtable Show. It's very easy to find. It's everywhere, just like that. 4Guys Roundtable Show. Once again, thank you for tuning in. And until next time, we say good evening, good afternoon, good morning, and we'll catch you on the next episode.